So one, actually, doing this, I was just saying, with all this bullying going on at the moment, where people are, saying, oh, because of their how their lives turned out, they were bullied. I mean, I never brought into it, but I'm going to say this: I've never been known as Justin Rackley. That's insane. So I'm not from the country, and I've lived most of my life in the city. My mother decided to move from Sydney with her second husband in April 1989. Now, I've had people say, oh, they were seven, they were eight. Do the math, you moron. I was 10. April 1989, I was 10. And what I will repeat again, and I hope I never have to keep repeating this, is but my mother moved to an area that she only went there for a holiday. Whatever scamming lies my mother tells people, okay? Because she's always going to convince people and herself it was the best move she ever did. Really, then stop forcing people to copy you. No. My mother wanted to change her whole lifestyle around to suit her second husband. Obsessed. Obsessed with Mark Rackley. So I'll tell you exactly what I won't give you the whole long because I want to finish, keep working on artwork. For whatever reasons, Mark Rackley was hiding away from my grandfather Rich. They had only just married, my mother and my stepfather. My mother moved him into the house that my father restored and half built that house as well. The house that was my parents' house, that my dad gave my mother, which he should never have, ever given my mother that house, ever. Mark Fleming, you made a big mistake giving Carol that house. Look where it went to, because it went to her second husband's family. Oh, don't get me started. I hate my mother and her family with a passion. The only ones I've ever liked is the ones that I always talk about. My grandparents, who raised me, Lola and Reg, my great-grandmother, Mary, and Uncle Fred. The others, oh God, I want to piss on them and they're on fire. And I don't normally talk like that, so that tells you how angry I am. I don't speak that way. I don't use that language. That's not how I would normally speak. But when I'm angry, you will hear me speak in a way that I would never speak. That's how you know I'm really angry. So she moved. Okay, and she keeps saying, oh, wait, like everyone moved. It's like, no, you moved. You moved, Carol. So she went away for a holiday with Mark Rackley to Tamworth. And I remember the conversation. Okay, Mark Rackley wanted to go there. So they went for a long weekend. Or weekend, whatever. I think it was whatever it was. Could have been Australia. Who cares? It was a weekend. They went there. Mark Rackley loved it. It reminded him of Adelaide. God, that's what he said. That's exactly his words. Because his first marriage and relationship was in Adelaide, was in South Australia. Excuse me. And his other kids. So anyway, so my mother brought a house there to suit her second husband, and then moved us up 4 months later. That's how it happened. Now she knew no one there in the area, not one person, had no friends, no family in that area. Every second week, if we didn't have sport, basically, you would say every second weekend, but it could have been every weekend if we didn't have sport. It was like, we're going back home to Sydney. So we did. So I was always back home in Sydney. I never made connections, and I wasn't going to make connections there anyway. Every single holiday except for October was spent back home in Sydney, and I barely lived there for 6 years. That's the fact. When we first moved there, those people kept saying things, for example, my mother just remarried, right? She had a new husband. Now, it's common sense tells you that people remarry, right? Except when you move to an area that was like backwards, and I'm talking extremely backwards in the 90s. Extremely backwards, it felt like 1950s, 90s. Those people were weird. I mean, they had, what was it? Rocky and Bullwinkle as a cartoon. Yeah, they were backwards. Meanwhile, I left Sydney having, The Simpsons and so forth as cartoons, and I'm like, wow, these people are so backwards. They never heard of half the stuff that we grew up around in Sydney, and I was spending every weekend back home in Sydney, then having to come and put up with these people from Tamworth and New England area. And that's the truth. So why I didn't connect with those people? Because I'm from Sydney. I had nothing in common with them. And every weekend was spent back home in Sydney anyway. So what they did compared to my life, completely different. I was never going to fit in with them. My mother's a little, whatever, she wanted to fit in with those people to suit her husband, so she did. I didn't. I moved back home to Sydney. So, I mean, I keep getting harassed by these people. The building I live in, there's people from those areas. And I look at them and think, oh, God, I would never socialise with you. We're chalk and cheese. We're two different people. My upbringing is completely different to yours. I barely lived in an area for 6 years, and that was only because my mother moved there when I was 10. But our life wasn't there. It was back home in Sydney. It was like going to boarding school. Seriously, it was. Because it felt like you're just there for school and then you're back home in Sydney anyway. So I never felt like I left. And I didn't. And remember, back in those days, Uncle Jack, whose real name's Matthew, we do this in my family a lot. So Uncle Jack, which is my nan's uncle, so Uncle Fred, whose real name's Leo. Told you we do this a lot in my family, change people's names. You know, they're like he was still in Stratfield. He was in Jersey. Was it Jersey? I think it's Jersey Road, Stratfield. Same place, nursing home, ended up putting my great grandmother into Jersey Road, Stratfield. So we were always back home in Sydney seeing him. Big Nam was still in Leichhardt, so we were back home visiting Big Nam, my great grandmother, all the time. Uncle Fred was still in Leichhardt, so we're still doing that. Nana Pop was still in Blacktown, so we're still there. So our life was still in Sydney all the time. It didn't leave Sydney. And it didn't leave Sydney really until after 2005. But I lived in the city then. But as I keep saying to people, really, my mother and her sister's lifestyle really did not leave Sydney until the 2000s because they were continuously in Sydney anyway. So, yeah. And I moved back to Sydney in the 90s, 1995. So, again, that's the fact. Now, these people kept saying, like, if they were to put my name down, a great example is there's 2 newspaper articles where I put down Justin Brackley, even though I told them my name was Justin Fleming. The issue that these people have, and I've proved it in the last 9 years because they're doing it again. These people are wankers. These country people are wankers. Like, they would call me Justin Brackley, and I'm like, my last name's Justin Fleming. And there's some idiot go, oh, he's saying it. He wants to sound posh. I'm like, no, my last name, this is exactly what I said. I was like, my last name is Fleming. My last name, like, what do you think my last name is? Like, this is me as a kid. I'm like, they're like, well, your mum's name's Rackley. I'm like, because mum just remarried before moving here. That's her second husband. That's what I said. Like that, my last name's Fleming and Mana's last name's Fleming. So there was even when I was getting news, so my high school, first day of high school, same thing happened. It was Justin Rackley and I went to Mr. Robertson and said, no, my last name is Fleming. And he goes, and I explained to him, and he goes, well, they should have your birth record. Go up to reception and just tell them there's a mistake. So I went up to reception and said, my last name's Fleming. They looked it up, sure enough, there's my birth record. Yep, Justin Fleming, because I'm not related to my stepfather. Okay. But they kept getting confused. So they kept putting Fleming down, then doing Fleming hyphen Rackley. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's Fleming. It's not hard. It's Fleming. Fleming is my last name. Simple. Getting a photo done for the newspaper when I'm in Judy Ball's class and I'm doing the mural, painting a mural for the Tamworth Town Library, and I was also doing downtown interiors. They put down the person doing the report and they're going, my last name's Fleming. And they go, oh, I know his mother. It's Rackley. So they put down Rackley. I'm like, this is what was going on the entire time. I'm like, I don't care if you know my mother. My mother's maiden name's Purdy. You're going to put Purdy down? You idiots. My last name's Fleming. My mother's new married name's Rackley. This is how backwards those people are. Now, I'm winning this argument because in the last 9 years, these people did it again. Didn't they? Now, I haven't lived there since 1995. My records all show I'm Fleming. I've never changed my name. It's always been Fleming because that's who my dad is. My grandfather, Stanley Fleming, although he was an orphan, his last name is Stanley Fleming. Sorry, his name is Stanley Fleming. My dad is Mark Ian Fleming, and I'm related to the Flemings with 2 M's, Fleming. I've proven what these country people like, haven't I? Because they're still doing it. They did it since 2015. Oh, his name's Rackley. It's like, no, it's not. And I've just proven my point then. So if you want to talk about bullying, those Tamworth country people and so forth, that's bullying. Like, I've never been person to jump on it, but if you, for 35 years, and okay, fair enough, I moved back home to Sydney, I was only there for 6 years, but for 35 years, if you have to be told, my last name's Fleming, I'm not related to the Rackleys. And my ex, and okay, right now with my hair like this, and I've just seen photos of my stepbrother. Yeah, my stepbrother had actually similar, like I would do my hair, but my hair was always long and tied and neat. Okay, so there is similarities between myself and my stepbrother, despite the fact that we are the exact same age, but the opposites are. My stepbrother, he's exactly like his father, Mark Rackley. Mark Rackley is a violent, drunk, deadbeat, cannabis smoking drug user. So are his children. But both my mother's husbands had, well, my dad's got frizzy, wavy hair, when it's long, so do I. Apparently, my mother's second husband did, but to be honest, I don't. I only remember him ever being bored. He was bored. My stepfather was bored before he was 30. So short, fat, and bored is what my stepfather was. So I'm sure his son's going to be the same. But apparently, some people thought I was Daniel Radcliffe because that's where people were like, "Oh, he was straight." I'm like, "I've never been straight." Christ, I was openly gay before I was in high school, but I just came out officially in 1992. So I've never been straight. I've always been gay and never been involved in drugs. And you can tell when people have confused myself and my stepmother. But I'm not, and police did it. Fucking idiots. Police did it. But then what do you expect when you're going to deal with country people? They're so dumb. Seriously, I can't. I'm 45 years of age, and the only thing that people from like the country has actually, and funny, my grandparents had the same. So Reg and Lola hated country people with a passion. They used to have to deal with them when buying and selling horses because they were involved in the racing industry. They hated country people. I'm so much like Reg and Lola. I'm just like, they're fucking idiots. Like even with my dog, I've brought a dog which is the English Bull Terrier, which are bred for the city. I still get harassed by country people going, "Oh, but weren't they a country dog?" I'm like, no. He's an English Bull Terrier. They're bred for London. They're bred to be a stroll city. I put them in the country, they'll die. You're an insane loser. You obviously got a fixation on dogs that have to. You think dogs are only for the country. I'm sorry, but big breeds of dogs are bred for the city. I mean, I think that's a very backwards, bigot way of Australia is. But I'm done with it. Like I look at any country people that come near me, which has done it deliberately in the last 9 years. I'm like, man, I'm going to jump you on your ass. You're a fucking loser. Seriously, you people are deadbeats. Like you're absolute morons. I live most of my life in the city, and I'm going to get reimbursed the damages the last 9 years has cost me. Then I'll go back to America and live in the city. I would never live in a country. I can't stand the environment. Like I said, when buying a dog, I looked at the dog breed. Like I've known the English Bull Terrier for a long time. The English Bull Terrier is completely different to other Bull Terrier breeds. For example, Pit Bull Terriers are very different, Bull Mastiffs, but the American Bull Terrier is extremely different to the English Bull Terrier. The English Bull Terrier is bred from the English Bulldog and the English Terrier. Two inside dogs. They do no good outside at all. In Australia, people see the height and they think it should be an outside dog. It's like, no. The English Bull Terrier is prone to everything. It's bred to be an inside dog and they live a lot longer inside and have less problems. They're just a very good social dog. They're terrible for endurance. People think they look at them and go, "Oh, they should be out doing this." Only a country deadbeat loser would think that. It's like, you're obviously... Country people are just, you can't deal with country people. Country people can't be reasoned with because they believe that they're the only ones that have horses or they're the only ones that have animals. Country people are unreasonable people. And there's nothing that will ever change my mind otherwise. They're just extremely unreasonable people. For example, in Sydney, we had horses. Country people believe, oh, horses should be in the country. This should be in the country. This should be... It's like, mate, go off and live your life. The city's different. There's a lot of people in the city that have horses. Christ, even parts of New York and New Jersey, people have horses, the same as Sydney. There's racing industries all through the inner city. Like, country people are the biggest wankers of people you would ever meet in your life. I have to be so fake and polite to the losers, but that's it, as far as it goes. They're just people that can't be reasoned with. You can't talk to them. You can't tell them anything because they are know-it-all people. They know everything, country people. And that line right there is exactly what Reg Purdy and Lola Purdy, my nan and pop, my grandparents, said. They used to say the exact same thing. I'm going back to my painting. Enough of that. But I'm telling you now, this bullshit in the last 9 years, what it's cost me, you're damn right I'm not going to wear those costs. So you can tell my twin sister, that little bitch, sell your house because one way or another, I'm getting my money back and you cause the trouble, you pay for it. It's that simple. It's Christ almighty what people think I'm going to be a pushover. Yeah, I'm no pushover. We're to 14 minutes of talking. Gosh. Say something else too. I've never known a more group of people that lie so much as I've seen country people do. I find them to be extremely dishonest people. And they say Sydney people, or they talk about city people, and it's like, I'm sorry, but country people are just such, because they only have their very small, narrow mind bigotry to go from in life, and they make a lot of assumptions because anything that's different to them. There you go. Anything that goes against the way they have lived their life or so forth in the country, and they believe everybody. So like I said, you have animals, and it's like, oh, they believe that animals should be in the country. It's like, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. There's dogs that are bred for the city. There's plus horses that were right through Sydney of city. So, Christ, there's still stables everywhere. But country people are just like that. And there's nothing you can say. You just got to sort of, well, I go with this way where I'm just so fake and smile to them and give them a conversation and go on with my day. Because you've got to try and avoid those types of people. They're troublemakers too. You would never find, and that's the problem with Australia. We don't have many cities in Australia. So there's a lot more troublemakers than anything. And it comes from areas like Adelaide. It comes from areas like those small country towns. Like Adelaide's a country town. Despite what people who live there think it's a city. It's not a city. It's a country town. And that's what it is. So, yeah. And that's, they're just trouble making people. So you just don't give them anything, basically. Yeah, and they've never been any different. So what I'm actually doing here is, I'll go back to my paints now. So I'm actually doing some very thin watered down layers, and I'll go over, so thin watered down paint, and I'll be going over and doing layers and layers and layers. So it's just getting paint down first, like I've done before in the other paintings, and building it up. And then I'll be putting more depth in as well. And I've got to look at this black and white photo for a sec to see where the water's coming in from. Okay, so it is rippling in. Okay. More down this way. So the darkness will be coming through here. Yeah, my mother's this person. It's like, seriously, I still think I look at her and go, why would you ever move? My mother wants to force people to do what she does. She's a narcissistic control freak. So she moved. Oh, this is exactly what my nan used to always say. If you like it so much there, Carol, why do you keep forcing everybody to do the same as you? Like, your father and I aren't moving, which is what, like, so my mother moved and she kept saying, oh, you would love it here. I'm saying, no, I won't. Even my pop used to get the shits. I swear he died. Like, he was like, I'm sick of this. I've got shit daughters. I'm leaving. Because right up to the day he died, it was always like, Lola, control your daughters. So basically, Pop said no. I remember this is when it started. I was like, Pop said, I never wanted to move out of Balmain. Like, my grandfather never wanted to leave the city. We moved out of the city for you daughters. That's why we moved. This is exactly, you can almost hear in my voice, this is exactly what Pop did. Turned around and said, I never wanted to move out here. I never wanted to leave the city. We moved out here for you kids. Basically, that's what, because I had daughters. But basically, that's what they said. If we never had daughters, we'd be still living in Balmain. So Pop never wanted to leave. And then Nan piped up and said, oh, rubbish. Reg, could you imagine me raising a family in a terraced house? Like, Nan said, I wasn't going to raise a family in a terraced house. She grew up in a terraced house. She wanted a larger house with, front yard, backyard. So they brought in 1962 in Blacktown. And that's where they went out there. But like Pop said, he didn't want to be out. He would rather be in the city. That's where his family's from. That's where he's from. Anyway, So, they're not from there. They're actually, all my family are originally from the city, in the inner city. My mother just moved with her second husband, and of course, she wants everybody to do what she does. So, oh look, she just drove my grandparents mad, trying to force them to do things they didn't want to do. She's never going to change. She'll do it to me. But I hate her guts. I can't stand them. I honestly look at even my twin sister and think, you're a fucking dog. I can't stand you. You're exactly like mum and mum's sisters. They're all the same. And I'm sorry, I can put it up there and say, well, there's too much that's gone on over the years where I don't want anything to do with them. Sorry. Well, actually, I'm not sorry about it, but I don't want anything to do with them. They're ones that I liked in my family are dead. There was always rumours that I was coming back to Australia because I missed people. No, I was coming back to Australia because I needed a solicitor in Australia to resolve the information that was false that went to America. So I only came back here to get it resolved. I read all my belongings and assets because my credibility is worth more than anything, and I was having my credibility destroyed when I was in America. I'm like, no, I'm not putting up with this. Whoever's causing this trouble, think you're all going to pay for it. And I don't care. It could come from either side. I don't care if it come from dad side of the family, the Fleming side. I don't care if it come from the Peter side. I don't give a shit. It did come from me. And no information that I've had come back to me ever came from me. So, yeah. Actually, see here, camera out. If you can see, I'm working on there. So it's going to be, I always start off with very watered down to get the paint there and then layer it and put the depth in later. And there was always stuff about where people were like, oh, I didn't have friends at high school. Yes, I did. Why didn't you keep it? And I liked people from my high school, but yeah. Look, I'm not going to keep explaining. I'm actually over-explaining now too. Like, well, look, I'm not going to keep over-explaining as well because people can't listen to me 9 years ago. So. Like, mum was, I used to love it here. It's like she made up these stories. It's like, no, I didn't. I used to take his paints down the back and all this bullshit stuff. I was like, I used to have more fun when I used to sit in the park across the way from Nan's place in 43 Pipe Street, Leichhardt, and sit there and sketch the viaducts. So I'm sorry, but the crap that she carries on with. And Amanda's the same. Oh my God. This is what it's been like over these. Oh, there's this place for sale. Oh, there's a coffee shop that's getting sold. You should. Why is it going bust and getting sold, Amanda? She's. Oh, you would love it. You would love to work in that. I'm like, no, I wouldn't. Why would I like to own a restaurant or a coffee shop? Why do you think I would? Because I don't. I enjoyed my job, my career path that I went into, which when I was doing hosting, that was a career path that I chose. This should be great. That was a career path that I actually chose back in 1999. Okay. Right. Maybe it's too late now. I should be stopping. I'm not focusing. I'm more focusing on the camera. This is why I don't film myself. I haven't got the knack yet of actually just filming and working without talking to the camera. Anyway, oops. Still, it's not lost yet. I'm still going to put a lot more details in. So, just get the paint on there first. yeah, I mean, and like I don't hate this stuff that went on. That I don't hate country films. Like I never had an issue until the last 9 years, and these stories here. I'm still talking. Started being made up. It's like, well, I'm looking at myself. I'm about 35, 40 kilos way overweight. I'm fat, unhappy because of what you've done to me in the last 9 years, and I was never unhappy before. These weirdos from the country made up some weird stories. I was accused of all sorts of things of being suicidal and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I've never been suicidal, and why would I be suicidal? That was another thing I kept saying to people. Like, you're making up these stories, and it's because Australia doesn't have a decent legal system. Because if we had a system where you could sue someone straight away for making up stories like that, you would find out that there'll be less of those type of stories being made up. You watch yourself. If you change the legal system where it's like, right, there is a lot more cases going to court for suing people for damages, you'll start seeing that people actually mind their own business and keep their mouth shut. You know? So maybe that's it. Well, not maybe, that's exactly what should be happening in Australia. And there is people that, you know, like I've always liked in the country. I mean, when I was there, but again, I'm not from there. Half of this crap was because someone tried to make up a story that I didn't remember people. It's like, are you insane? Like, where is all that? Like, no one had the transparency or the honesty to tell me where the stories were coming from. But they were all coming back to me with these made up stories in the last 9 years since 2015. Oh, because I went out on a night out in 2016. Wait, here we go. This way it could be 2016. Blame the freaking ridiculous hospital. Some guy I had a one night stand with, or you know, had a sexual fling with, drugged me on a date rape drug. Gee. So there you go. And then everyone, all hell hit loose. It's like, well, it happened all in a day. You know, things happen in life, and that was just something that happened in life. And that's actually, seriously, I went and had a one night set. The guy should have been charged, but wasn't. Well, whatever. I can't do anything. I mean, you know, these things happen. Sure, they happen everywhere in the world. It just happened to me. Misfortunate event. Next time I'll make sure, if I go to a stranger's house, I'll watch when they pour me a glass of Coke, you know, or an orange juice, something like that. I'll be very careful next time instead of being, you know, talking with whatever with a complete stranger that I don't know. Like there, like, you know, like it was bad, but it was like, well, I can't do anything about it. It happened, you know. So yeah, it wasn't knowingly. I didn't knowingly take it. It was anyway. Crap happens in life, unfortunately, and you have to learn from it. So do I learn from it? Hell yeah! I'll make sure if I'm out, I drink my drink. I don't leave it. No, don't leave it laying around when you go to the toilet. Things like this. So yeah, men get date raped as well. Might leave it there. So I get some sleep on a big day tomorrow. But you can see sort of where I'm working with that there. So this is a painting I'm doing based on, oh God, my back. Oh God. Oh, I've been so much agony. So there. So that's all I've got to go on really to look at, which is Uncle Fred's work from the National Archives of Australia, my great uncle Fred, and I'm doing it into a painting over here.